everybody. My name is Jim Wright, and today I want to show you how you can adjust the truss rod on your Warr guitar. I worked for Warr Guitars from 2000 to 2008. One of my many tasks there was to set up and intonate the guitars before they were shipped to customers. I did this for guitars with all kinds of string arrangements and tunings, and I want to share some of that knowledge with you all right now. Adjusting the truss rod on any instrument is one of the more daunting but also satisfying adjustments you can make to a guitar. The truss rods counter the tension of the strings and allow you to adjust the relief of the neck, basically meaning that we can flatten the neck until the action is right for our personal preference. 8-string Warrs have one truss rod, but the larger instruments have two, which allows you to adjust the action for both sides of the guitar. Fortunately, the company used the same truss rods you would find in high-end basses, so adjustment is a breeze with the right tools and a few simple rules to make it easy and safe. But before we begin, the disclaimer. You are responsible for the health of your instrument. If you try any of what I describe here and damage your instrument, I, Jim Wright, am not responsible. Let's do everything we can to make sure that doesn't happen. If you feel at any time that you are not having success with the adjustment, stop and take your guitar to the nearest musical instrument repair shop for guidance. Anyone who works on electric guitars and basses should be able to help. But really, this is an easy procedure, and if you carefully follow the steps I'm about to cover, you should have no problem. The first step is to check the relief in your guitar's neck to see if it needs adjustment. I find my guitars sometimes need adjustment as the weather changes from cold to warm or vice versa, and I've also found that new guitars need periodic adjustment as they get used to the string tension. To check the action, we will simply use the outer strings as a straight edge to see how much relief is in the neck. To do this, hold down one of the strings at the 2nd fret and up at the top of the neck where it meets the body. On my guitars, the 20th fret is where the neck meets the body. I hold down the 20th fret with my pinky so that I can use my right thumb to tap around the 10th to 12th fret. And of course, I'm holding at the 2nd fret with my left-hand index finger. The distance between the string and the fret tops in the middle neck area is the measurement we will use for our adjustment. We want to make this gap as small as possible without the string actually touching the fret. My black Warr Heritage model flattened out the spring in the wet weather we had here. I had also spent a lot of time cleaning it, and that seemed to change the tension on the neck. The action is incredibly low now, and I like it, but my highest bass string has some problems on the lowest frets near the nut. For this reason, I want to loosen the truss rod a bit to create more relief in the action. As you can see, there's not much space between the string and the middle frets before the adjustment. I'm almost afraid to touch it, but I should be able to get it back to where it is if I don't like my adjustment. So let's get to work. This guitar has a cover over the truss rod adjustment axis, so I have to remove the 2 screws that hold it in place and remove the cover. Newer guitars have no cover, but you might have an older one like this one. Now we can get to the rod adjustments. The most important part of this process is having the correct size Allen wrench to fit the truss rod. All Warr guitars are shipped with the proper wrenches included, but it seems easy to lose them, so if your guitar doesn't have them, it is worth your time and money to go buy a set of wrenches. They're not that expensive. The truss rods are double action, which means that if you continue to turn them, they will eventually move the tension in the other direction. However, our adjustments should not move the rods far enough for this to be a factor. Once you have the proper size wrench, you're ready to go. I lay the guitar on a flat surface, maybe a bed, with the neck hanging over the end of the bed, pointing to the left. In this position, turning the wrench counterclockwise, top of the wrench moves towards you, will loosen the truss rod, and clockwise, where the top of the wrench moves away from you, will tighten it. String should be at the proper tension. It's very important that the wrench be firmly inserted in the truss rod as far as it will go before you apply any torque. If the wrench does not fit properly, you run the risk of damaging the truss rod, which is just something you don't want to do. If this happens, wait until you have the proper wrench size. Even if your guitar needs the truss rod tightened, I would recommend loosening it first to relieve a bit of the tension on the rod and make sure it's turning freely. A quarter to half turn should be enough. If the rod is hard to turn, do not apply great pressure. Something else might be wrong. Again, you should take it to a guitar repair shop and have them examine it. The rod should turn fairly easily. There's a reason Warr used 2 truss rods in the larger models. The guitars are overbuilt to a small degree, which I appreciated when I took this guitar from standard tuning to uncrossed tuning many years ago. Uncrossed, for us, has all the bass strings wound, so there's more tension on the neck than a standard tuning. I also like to use slightly heavier strings than most tappers, and this has never been a problem on my Warr guitars. Once you've loosened the tension a bit, you can make your adjustment. The amount of adjustment you make will depend on how far off the action originally was from where you want it. If it was close, it shouldn't take much, a quarter to a half a turn maybe. You will feel the truss rod resisting you as you flatten the neck. If you have to apply a lot of pressure, be careful as something may be wrong. Err on the side of safety. You do not want a broken truss rod on your guitar. After the adjustment, use the straight edge technique to check your work. You want to see a very small amount of relief around the 10th to 12th fret. The proper adjustment is to leave the smallest possible gap during the string straight edge test with no buzzing or loss of tone at any fret while the guitar is tuned to pitch. Of course, you should also feel comfortable with the adjustment as far as your own playing style. Maybe you really like low action, or maybe you want to feel a bit of distance between the string and the frets. It's up to you. The guitar might change a bit over the next few days, so you might keep the tools handy in case you want to make further adjustments. If you're traveling with the guitar, be sure to take the wrenches with you, as the guitar might change due to differing environments. Temperature and humidity affect the action of a guitar a lot. A properly adjusted guitar is a true pleasure to play. It can easily affect your performance if the guitar is set up well, making it so much more fun to play. I hope this guide has been helpful and will lead to more enjoyment of your instrument. Hold up. There was a couple of things I wanted to discuss before this is over. As I've been working on this video for the last few weeks, I noticed a few things that I wanted to clarify and go over with you because, again, this is a really important process and it's not easy to do at first. Once you get it, you'll be fine. The first thing I want to tell you about is that you can see in the video I started with a stainless steel Allen wrench. And this didn't fit my guitar side like it fit the bass side. So I had to do exactly what I said in the video. I stopped, I went through all my Allen wrenches, and I came up with this, which fit both sides perfectly. And the longer throw really made it a lot easier to adjust the truss rod. So I would recommend to you all that you find a longer throw Allen wrench like this to use for your adjustments. Secondly, this guitar hadn't been adjusted in a while, and it really made a crack when I first loosened the truss rods. Don't be daunted if this happens. It's been under pressure, probably hasn't been adjusted for years. We had all of that wet weather, and it got into the wood and expanded it, and the truss rod was under a lot of tension when I first loosened it. I went back a few days after my first adjustment and I tightened the truss rod on the guitar side a little more to make the action lower. I was very happy that I did that. The guitar now plays wonderfully. The action is a little higher than it was before, but that's okay. I don't have a problem. And I think it really makes a difference how high the strings are, the kind of tone you get when you tap. Maybe you'll notice this yourself if you do the adjustments. It's really incredible, and you'll find that there's a sweet spot in there where the guitar sounds and plays just perfectly, so don't be afraid to look around a little for that. I also spoke with Pete Hannewinkle about this. He said he thought that most guitars required a 9/64 Allen wrench, but there were some older metric units, perhaps mine is one of those, and that's why I had problems. Pete also recommended a technique where if your rod is tight and you can't loosen it, you loosen all the strings on the guitar to take the tension off there, put the back of the neck over your knee and gently push on each end of the guitar while you or somebody else tries to loosen the truss rod. And perhaps if you feel that you're really having trouble, you can try that and see if that works. Again, be very careful. Don't push anything too hard. If you've worked with wood and materials like this, you know how hard you can push, but if you haven't, be careful and maybe find somebody who is more familiar with these kinds of things to help you with the work. Thanks, and back to the show. If this has been helpful to you, I would appreciate any donations you might care to make via my Venmo account at Touch-Guitar. Thanks to all the fine people who ordered Warr Guitars from me during my time as customer service with the company. One of the reasons I do this is to make sure your instrument is in its best condition and to thank you for your support. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel, as I might do more of these videos if this one proves to be popular. Thank you!